There almost was some entertainment before we start this whole thing, eh?
Yeah.
With my phone.
What?
Well, I didn't realize you got a new camera,
yeah.
so I was taking my phone and I was getting it all set, and then you said, "Oh, I got a phone up there." I'm like, "Oh, okay, great." So my phone, I don't need it. So I thought I thought we were on camera.
I know.
And for people to see me actually turn Wi-Fi off or
Airplane mode,
delete what I was doing,
Impossible.
you guys, it'd be a comedy show.
Yeah, it would be
Ridiculous.
I know.
Ridiculous.
It's funny because I sometimes get compliments about the production of the podcast.
Right.
And guys that are listening, it's literally that microphone, this microphone, my computer, and our iPhones.
And then about 9 hours.
Yeah. Of like,
Cutting
but it's not like I don't got this sick camera, lights, like all this stuff. This is a wrestling mat behind me.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it's the most like low like budget operation ever. Like I bought the 2 mics. It was probably the 2 mics and the I don't even remember the name for this. The interface. Probably like maybe $500 total.
Yeah. I would, I would like to do this though. I would like to have like a podcast room.
Yeah.
Although the gym's it's not the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But it would be cool to, have a coffee pot sitting there, or,
a little Joe Rogan style.
Nah.
What do you mean, podcast room?
Yeah, podcast room. But I don't like comparing myself to.
Oh, sorry.
It's almost like like we were just talking about earlier about everyone's got these morning routines now on TikTok and stuff, and like if you don't take a cold shower or a cold
plunge,
and then contrast it with heat and all that stuff for the 90 minutes of your first day, it's like you're a loser.
Yeah.
It's like I don't have time for that. And I don't like comparing myself to anybody ever.
Yeah. That's fine.
Ever.
Maybe we could use that office.
Yeah, maybe at some point.
Yeah. We could turn it if we get offices at the other building or something.
Yeah. But I'd like it to be like Joe Rogan's.
Yeah. Not comparing though.
No. It's some of them are pretty cool. Actually, I'd rather stand up. I'd like to have like one the side. Well, maybe I'm talking about a bar here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind standing.
The ones
up.
upstairs that we did, I like the setup of that.
Yeah. There's better tables.
Yeah.
Would have been better.
That room was freezing. Yeah. But I like that.
Yeah. Wouldn't mind standing up a little bit.
Yeah. That would be much better.
Yeah.
But in time.
Yeah.
Due process.
Got to get a whiteboard into now we're talking. Eh?
Yeah.
Send us some ideas, guys.
Yeah.
I'd like to get a whiteboard like right on the table, or like if we're standing up, we can just do something like that right on the fly without changing your camera and stuff. But nonetheless.
Well, you know what? Like,
because I don't think people like the whiteboard as much as they like my face.
No, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, look at this thing.
We need 3 cameras. Get 3 cameras going. 1, 2, 3. Do a picture in picture. I can do it. Just need another camera. I would need new software for editing too, because mine can only do 2 right now.
Yeah. Anyways, he's talking way above my head.
I know. Sorry. But speaking of that, I'm gonna do another little pitch here for guys to on YouTube, especially on YouTube and let's just say YouTube. If you guys like zero cost ways to support is YouTube. Like if you are members, that's the best. But on YouTube is actually huge because that's what helps to grow it, and then we can do this kind of stuff that actually contributes to the business, because the podcast helps the business tremendously, and it'll continue to do so. But the more that you guys share the stuff and subscribe and whatever, then we can actually make it a central part of it, which like we talk about stuff all the time about making like video series. I had a guy yesterday ask if we could do like not private coaching, but almost like give them a bundle of things like videos and stuff where they could just send it to their team and they could just watch it and we're explaining it instead of them having to like fumble through it and not find the right words. And that's all stuff we would love to do, and it takes the people watching, like sharing it and making it something that is actually monetizable for it to make sense, right? Otherwise we have to do other stuff still. So YouTube is a good no-cost way. If you don't want to become a member, you just subscribe, share stuff on YouTube. It's awesome. It actually really helps. So I wanted to talk about an interesting thing that we've talked about before, not on the podcast. So this is a good little thing to start. I noticed it in our U18 games on Saturday, and it's something we've touched on before, like I said, talking outside of this, but it was apparent again. We talk about game transferable skills a lot and how to do things that actually will apply in the game. And I was noticing on the weekend how many times guys are missing things like just by a little bit. So a pass is a little bit off, or a shot is a little bit off, or they just took a little bit of a wrong angle, and it seems like a small amount of space or a small distance that they missed and how big of a difference it makes just by missing by a tiny bit of space, right? So, for example, the easiest one that you can imagine is if we talk about taking a one-timer, right? If I'm going to pass it to a guy to take a one-timer, there's the sweet spot. I got to put that puck in for him to get off a good one-timer and not have to adjust.
And it has to be the right speed of the
Yeah,
puck.
exactly. So on the weekend, I have a vivid memory of one play where a guy went and made a nice spinorama move as like an individual skill, and then he passed it across to another guy on our team who was in a wide open lane to get a quick shot off, but it was off his back foot. So instead of the guy instead of the guy being able to just crack it right away, he had to fumble to his backhand to pick it up, and then had to like spinorama and like kind of reattack instead of being able to get that shot off. And so for the guy that made the play, he could have easily walked away from that play saying, "Oh, nice 360, nice pass." And it was like, no, like your spinorama move is fine, but it was a bad pass.
Or
And
not good enough.
yeah, and so you missed it by maybe 6 inches. You know, the 6-inch difference, that's a big difference when it comes to whether we get a chance or not offensively. So the way I kind of was phrasing it to them when I was explaining it was that small distances are big differences on the ice. You know, so if you're missed by 6 inches, that's a lot. If you miss a shot by 2 inches, that's a lot. If you take a bad angle by 2 feet, that's huge. You know, so it's important that the attention to detail on some of these more game appropriate skills or game applicable skills are important. I had a younger group on the ice last night, and I was talking about even guys waiting for passes, how I was having them kind of float up in the honey hole area on both sides. You know that drill you do where they trace, like, pucks here, guy's got the puck here, and this guy's got to trace the puck to both sides of the net. And they're getting too close to the crease. So when this guy gets the pass up, if it's a little bit off, they can't react. They don't have enough time to react. So I was telling them to be patient, stay out, all those things. And that's little details that really matter in a game. And if you can't do that, then you're missing, you know? And there's the difference between 3, 5, 7 shots a game for your team, or missing 2 or 3 scoring chances or whatever. You know, you could have had more opportunities than you did have because you're off by a little bit. You're not precise with your passing. You're not precise with your shooting. You're not precise with your skating or whatever. Does that kind of make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I talk about this all the time with kids. Like, and I know for them, sometimes they think, okay, you're just being a pain in the ass, or, oh, that makes sense, but it's like the details. But I always use that, right? If you're in a, I'm such a stickler on passing. Like, passing to me is like a huge
I am too
thing.
now because of you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because a pass would, you'll see so many times like, oh man, that guy's got to shoot that, or he's got to get it off quicker, or why do you have to stick handle? And it's like, okay, like, you got to back it up. It's easy to say that, and like, you're not going to make every pass perfect, but when you see, and I always use that example, like, if you get a cross ice, whatever pass it is, and you don't recognize the hand of the player, so you put it in the area, and let's say it's a one-time side, a one-time side. So this kid's ready to shoot, and he's ready, and the pass comes and it's a little bit too much in front, like enough where he can't adjust, or a little bit too far behind where he can't get there, so he's got to reach and pull it in. You take away that scoring chance. So if that's a 1-1 game and there's a minute left and you don't capitalize on that opportunity, is it the shooter or is it the passer? It takes 2 to make a pass. So that's why, like, I'm huge on, like, when you go on the ice, you should know. I'm not talking when you're 3. I always qualify it with that. But when you're on the ice and you're cognitive of the game now, making plays, like your practice drills and all that stuff, you have to be able to, in an instant, know by looking at someone if he's a one-timer or if he's not. Right? So that, and then it has to become a habit. You should know on the ice, just, your line mates, if you have steady line mates, you should automatically know who's who and where they should be passing. So if you're giving it to your left winger from the left side, he's on the one-time side, right? D, you got to know who they are, so that your partners, you got to know who they are, so that you know how to pass it to them, right? So like if you're a left to you're throwing it to someone on the that's on a one-time side as a D partner, and if you just sizzle a puck all over there to them, it's hard to handle now. So you got to just be aware of that. Like, it could be a good accurate pass, could be way too hard. So anyways, the passing piece is like you talk about the distance. Like if it's off by 12 inches, then the shot doesn't come off. But it's also, you got to look at the speed of the pass, the appropriateness of the pass, right? So it's like a good pass sometimes is a soft one or an area pass, or maybe it's right on the tape. It has to be hard. All these different things about passing. So like passing drills are they're critical. You got to know how to move a puck the right way.
Yeah, and you can do the same thing with shooting. I was giving one of our guys shit on the weekend because we're on the power play and his shot selection is just not good. And so a couple of them, he misses short side high. And what does that mean? It rims around the glass, out of the zone, back checking on a power play. It's like that. You can't one, if you're going to take that shot, you can't miss. And two, don't take that shot. You got to make a better decision than that. And so that you missed by this much, it's a huge difference. We have to go do a full breakout again, you know? So I think it's important because guys don't think about that as part of the skills necessarily. Like I don't ever remember anyone talking about that kind of stuff to me, outside of you, and definitely none of my coaches. And so that's why even now when I'm running practice or when you're on the ice doing skills with these guys, I know I've said a few times, and I know you say it all the time, is the beginning drills where we're like warming up, especially in a team practice. Most of the drills are team drills. We're doing stuff, team systems, team whatever. At the start, if I do a warm up passing, skating, shooting drill to get the boys going, that's your chance. Like hit your pass, man. Hit the tape. Make sure you score when you shoot. Make sure you get your feet moving when you catch a pass. Those little details make a really big difference. And if you can sync up on some of those and make them automatic, you're going to get more chances. You're going to make more passes. You're going to make more plays. All that stuff. And it's not the inside out one-on-one move. It's not the spinorama. It's not the dipsy doodle kind of stuff. You know, it's the kind of stuff that nobody thinks about or cares about. But that's the game. That stuff is where the game happens, you know? So this episode of the podcast is brought to you by the PowerTech online membership program. If you've been listening to Andy and I wondering, hey, how are they able to get all this podcast content out there? Well, that's because of our members. For just $9.99 a month, you can get access to our online video library, including hundreds of videos of Coach Andy teaching, and have the option for consultation calls with Andy or myself to go over anything you need. We can cover training, nutrition, coaching, parenting, agents, the junior college hockey path, whatever's of interest to you. You'll also be able to participate in our popular Ask Me Anything episodes, have access to special discount codes, and be given priority for any PowerTech in-person camps or events. If you like what we're doing here and you want to support us, this is the best way to do it. Visit powertechhockey.ca/memberships or find the link in the description of this video to learn more. So today I wanted to do the last part of our little basic series, and I wanted to talk about special teams. I wasn't planning on doing this one, but I was thinking about it when we were finishing the last episode, and I get a lot of questions about special teams kind of stuff. So we're going to do power play, penalty kill, and then maybe if there's anything extra like 6-on-5 situations or 5-on-3 type stuff, maybe we'll sprinkle some of that in if we have time at the end. But I wanted to start on power play as a philosophy, or just any general thoughts to start up when you're thinking about teaching power play, or if you're the one on the power play as a player executing the power play. So any opening thoughts on that before I ask questions?
Opening thoughts. I'm going to say this about 40 times today. I'm going to be very vague on both power play and penalty kill. And the reason I'm going to be very vague is because the power plays that you would teach a Bantam team is not what you're going to teach an Atom team, or so U16, U8, because it can't be. The cognitive part, the thinking part, all that stuff makes a difference. What you're going to teach a junior team, a college team, to a U16 team is not going to be the same. And pro to even pro, and especially pro. So like what you see on TV is probably not what it's not what you're going to run on for the youth hockey. So I think what I really want to make clear is that we're going to give more principles than
run this play.
Yeah, because we could show a breakout, and it's like we could have 300 different comments saying, yeah, but I do this. Of course you can do whatever you want. And this is actually the what I will say is that you can do whatever you want, stick to the principles. On a power play, in youth hockey, first of all, what that means to me is you have the man advantage. It doesn't mean that your best playmakers are on the ice because there's 7. It just means you have an extra player. So teaching the power play would just simply, do your best of teaching that you have an extra guy, try to create a 2-on-1. As you get older, you can try to, teach, some setups, which is totally fine, and breakouts and stuff. But at the end of the day, they're youth, and overthinking is really young. Anyways, overthinking is like too much. You got to let them play, and then to boot. Do you like that one? To boot? Yeah, I like to boot. To boot is if you're the Toronto Marlies and you're playing against the Puce River Rats, you're gonna win most likely, and you got better players. So sometimes you could say, "Wow, what a power play!" It's like no, just better players. That they have more skill level, so you can do a little bit more. Whereas if you're coaching, Puce is just a little area around here that has a population of about 12. That's why I use that all the time. They're not really a travel team.
Yeah.
But that was my point, is that like you can only do so much with what you have. So a lot of people get frustrated with the power play. It's like the skill's not there, man. The skill and maybe the intelligence, the hockey IQ and stuff. So, anyways, that's my philosophy on the power play and penalty kill. So power play is what you're trying to do is create 2-on-1s down at the other end, and penalty kill you're trying to keep the puck to the outside and get it down. And there's been several ways to do it. So, anyways, I digress.
No, that's good. The way I'm gonna frame when I'm talking about this, like let's assume we're talking to like a U16-ish AAA team. That's going to be like the basically the mindset. So it's kids that are old enough to understand some structure, some teaching, whatever. We're not
Even
doing
go 14.
Yeah,
14
sure.
and up.
Right. So younger than that. So if you're coaching any other team, any other level, whatever, then scale appropriately down or up from what we're saying. But just like all the other episodes that we've done about this stuff, it's just basics, it's foundations, it's stuff that you can build on if you don't know what you're doing, or if you do know what you're doing and maybe the basics have gotten lost because you're so deep into it. We were talking to one guy a few weeks ago that plays in the OHL, and he was talking about how many different D zones they've done on their team. And I'm kind of laughing because as the player, I remember how frustrating that is, where now you're at a super high level and everything keeps changing all the time, and some of it doesn't even make any sense. Like, okay, are we just making things complicated for the sake of making it complicated? Does it make sense to maybe just go back to something basic and tighten that up? So I think it can work up or down either way. But that's kind of who I'm going to frame this on. So my first thing I want to talk about for another minute before we bring the board out again is talk a little bit about maybe the difference. This is power play. The difference in mindset of attacking when you're 5-on-5 versus when you're attacking on a power play situation. So if I'm trying to score 5-on-5 versus trying to score 5-on-4, we say this when we talk about 5-on-5, create 2-on-1s, isolate guys. We're trying to do the same thing 5-on-5. And then you just said the same thing on the power play, right? We're up a man. Now we still want to create 2-on-1s, whatever. So what are some of the changes in mindset that you think are relevant when we're talking about the differences power play versus 5-on-5 on the attack? Does that make sense, my question?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know if it's easy to answer or hard to answer. Because again, this goes philosophically, like I've seen teams not I wouldn't say they're not aware they're on a power play, but they don't change a thing and they just enter. Right. Is it wrong? No. Like if you look at an NHL game or a OHL game, and I don't watch a lot of college, but I would assume it's the same. You're going to see the same breakout every single time. Not every single time, most times. And the reason they do that is because everybody has film and knows what they're doing. And if you don't really understand why they're doing it, you might even see, well, this guy had speed and maybe even a seam to get into the zone. Why didn't he just take it? Right? It's because it's structured and stuff, but it's like it has to be a certain way. And what they're trying to do is bring the puck up to get guys, they're going to set up anyways, like to get in their feet standing still. Then you draw it back, and then someone comes in with some speed and they dish it off to the sides typically, or we chip it in and we go get it. So it's to keep them flat-footed. In youth hockey, I don't, honestly, I've seen it. I've done it with kids, and it's like just go play, and you see someone come in with speed and just score off the rush. It's just typically that's as it gets higher up in levels, it doesn't really.
So maybe just to help you with where my head's at with it, because when I talk about it with the U18 team right now, it's the difference that I say to them about power play versus 5-on-5 is you have the luxury of being more patient if you need to, because we have an extra person. So maybe if I can frame it a little bit more like that is, when are the times where patience is more called for versus being urgent. So like my thing is, if my guys are on the power play and we're in a rush, a lot of times that ends up being a turnover sent down the ice. So some of our more offensive players, I'll say to them, okay, guys, take the extra 2 seconds, set up the system we're running on the power play, and then be patient with your selection of shots, be patient with your selection of playmaking, how you're going to pass pucks. Then where the urgency comes in is if we lose the puck, if there's a rebound, if there's a turnover, if there's a battle in the corner, that's where the urgency comes back, where it's like 5-on-5 and then some, where it's like now we swarm pucks, now we get 3 guys in on the puck, whatever. So I think the contrast that I'm thinking of asking that question is, when we have possession, it's a little bit more about patience than 5-on-5, because you have the luxury of having more space, versus you lose a puck and now it's even more urgent to get on it because we have the extra guys, so we can afford to send in 3 guys or 4 guys even to swarm a puck to get it back, and then we're back into our patient thing, set up and wait for good lanes and whatever. Now, one thing that I noticed though is there's a difference between being patient and just standing around. And that's another big mistake that I see. I don't know if you, maybe with your guys, we could talk a little bit about maybe when you were coaching your was it U16 in Bell Tire? And obviously they were a great team. But when you guys were doing your power play stuff, it's like, yeah, you want to be patient, but you don't just want to stand around. Like, you're still trying to create movement, those 2-on-1s, isolating guys, like you mentioned earlier. So how did you run it, or what did you think of with that U16 team when you guys were running power plays? Like, now this is more youth hockey, draft year kids, exactly who we're talking to. What did power play look like for you guys? Being a really good team, a skilled team, you could do whatever you wanted to do, but how did you teach that to them with those kinds of things in mind?
Well, that's what it was. We had a very skilled team and intelligent hockey players, so we were able to do. It wasn't anything fancy, to be honest with you. That's the key too. It's like, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. But what we did is we broke out basically very similar to how your U18 is breaking out, right? So you got guy behind the net. That's a controlled breakout with staying on your forehand. 2 guys coming out, so you have options. Then we had 2 guys crossing. We chose a side which if we entered this way, we did one thing. We entered the other way, we got it set up on one side. So we got it set up on one side. We did like an overload, which means we had 2 guys on one side, and we'd work the puck around to a certain point where the far side wing defensive would come down, and we kind of hit him backdoor a lot. And then other than that, it was just moving it till you found a shot. And it wasn't really that complicated. And I think that's one of the things. But so having said that, with your patience, is that's exactly true. Is like, if you're in a rush to get the goal real quick, like, you don't want to take all day, but you have time to get the puck moving and look for spaces on the ice where you can create a play. So it doesn't have to be 40 shots in a power play, but it could be 2 quality ones or a backdoor sort of thing. But having patience is good. So like, you don't have to be in a rush to get it even in their zone. Like, if you don't like your look as you're coming up, you can always come right back and just set it up, right? So yeah, patience is a big thing. But and then, as exactly what you said, is when you don't have the puck, or when there's a bobble or a loose puck or a dump in, then you just need to get there quick and outman people,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, and I want to hammer it home to the difference between being patient and standing around, because I've seen this too, where on the one hand I'm saying, guys, like, slow it down, like, be patient, find good passing lanes, find good shooting lanes. That doesn't mean stand around, number one. And then when we lose the puck, it's like everybody's still being patient now. It's like, no, now we go, right? So we have to be clear about when we're doing which thing, especially if you are a coach of a team that isn't that great, where they need to be like things to be spelt out. If you have a great team that is really skilled like yours and can make good decisions, it's like, okay, guys, set up like this and then go.
Just go play hockey.
Just go play.
Yeah.
And you can do that. If you have a little bit of a weaker team, maybe they need a little bit more structure.
Well, I would say, but this is what I would say. Like, a lot of times I used to do this too. It's like power plays can get in your own head, right? Sometimes you try to make the perfect plays and stuff, and then I got to a point, like, we had a little bit of a dry spell. I said, just, guys, make, after a couple passes, I need a shot. I mean, don't be an idiot. If it's, you got shin pads and 3 guys in front of you, no. But now it's like, just get it up, let it move once or twice, and let's get shots and bodies in front of the net. Sometimes that's just the answer. So I would say with less skilled teams, that's probably more what you're going to be looking at doing is just get it to the net and not try to overskill it because you like legit you can't.
Yeah, the skill
Like
just isn't
the
there. The
skill isn't
ability's
there,
not
so
there.
it's got to be kind of ugly, and that's okay.
Yeah,
It's ugly.
yeah.
It's fine.
Okay, so I want to do breakouts. I want to not to do a specific breakout, but just to talk about what the thought process on the breakout. So I'm gonna do the board. Okay, so we can do whatever breakout you want. You want to do the one that I'm doing with our guys right
Yeah,
now?
yeah, it's good.
Okay, so
That's good.
standard breakout. D's picking the puck up behind the net.
Yeah,
Center swings to one corner.
yeah,
Other D
yeah.
swings to the other corner.
So what you got? You got your. Got to change this thing here.
Yeah.
So let's just say your first D is the guy back. Okay, this is a perfect world. He's a left-hand shot. Okay, left-hand shot. Which we're trying to do.
Sorry,
is,
can you do?
yeah, yeah. Sorry.
Sorry.
What we're trying to do is come out together. So again, you talk about patience. This is one. So we're trying to get two guys coming down nice and low, like this. These are forward, a D and a forward, or whatever. Maybe it's even a D here. On your forehand side, it would be optimal. So if you get a passer on your forehand side, you can make a play. Left-hand D, you want to make sure you're coming out on your forehand side. So you're coming out on the left-hand side of the net. And so why do you want to come out together? This is on the one that you're doing. You want to come out together because you have options. That's all. That's easy. A simple pass to break a play is very simple.
So sorry. So if the guy, like, for example, so you have this guy up here right now. So if this defenseman's here and he needs to make this pass, and this guy's way up here, harder pass, longer pass, further pass, more chance for error, etc. So when you say come together, the way I explain it, the way you explain it, straight line across, or even behind your guy, kind of, but more or less that's the idea.
Yeah, basically. So you can come out together, so he doesn't have to move the puck, or he can like. And why would you move the puck if you don't have to? And you're seeing what the other team has in this area, and you make your plays appropriately. So if let's say it's instead of having, I put an extra D on there because that's another type of breakout. You could have 4 plus one guy up here. So well, let's just say it's like yours, and you've got this would be the right D, center or winger, whatever. This guy coming out like this, then you could have a forward here and a forward up here, and like you have swings happening for other options, and that's basically how you're looking. You're just looking at options to get up the ice. That's it. That's all.
So if I'm defenseman puck carrier, you kind of just breezed by a good point that maybe you can touch on for another minute. The defenseman, you said you don't move the puck if you don't have to. So why is that? Why is that something you would even say? Like, if I have an open pass, why am I not taking that pass? Why would I wait?
This is why I don't want to get too detailed. You make the appropriate pass. So you're coming out together. So like, if you have the puck in the middle of the ice, like this, and you have no pressure, there wouldn't be any real reason to put it over here against the wall where the penalty killer can start sealing you off, right? So like you take that ice as long as you can. So that, like, if you can get it right to the zone, even better, but that's probably not going to happen. So at some point you're going to probably make a pass to the outside. Yeah. Yeah. And you could have, like, instead of swinging guys, you could have guys like these three coming out. You could have, or sorry, these would be forwards up here, and you could have swings this way, or one low, one high, or you could have it just like a stretch pass and dump it. So that's like the principle is that, like, what we're trying to do is just get it to this end of the ice.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's, like I said, I'm going to be very vague. It's one way to do it. There's not a million, but there's a lot of ways that you can do this.
Yeah. But the things I want for take homes, because there's a million ways to do it, is guy carrying the puck up the ice, and guys breaking out with him. However you do it, 2 guys, 3 guys, 4 guys, all 5 guys, whatever it is. You want to come up the ice together ish, so that passes are easy. We can make easy passes, and just like if you're going through the neutral zone or into the attacking zone, you're 2-on-1ing guys and putting the puck to open space so that you can get into the other end. That's it.
Now, what I guess I could say what I wouldn't want to do, because what you're doing is you're taking advantage of having an extra person. So what I typically wouldn't want to do is, and this is where, I know this is simple, but I'll say it, is that you don't want to have a traditional breakout where you have 5 guys down here coming out, because now you're just making it a lot simpler for one guy to forecheck and disrupt 3 maybe. So it's like that's why you want to have the option of making those 4 guys. Maybe it's you might play a team where they're waiting for him down here. Well, that's like one easy pass can beat one guy, unless he comes out and he's like really good at doing the job. But so let's say they do that. Well, then by having guys stretched out a little bit, like I said, like the swing guys, then it gives you options, right? If they're up here, let's say like this is the defending team. That at least it gives you room. So now, if he commits early, then he gives you a lane. If he backs up, then he gives you time. But what you're doing is you're stretching the ice. You're making it a little bit harder for them to make decisions. So that's why it's important that you use, like, we don't have a red line anymore, so you might as well use the ice to stretch them out, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even
So
think about that
yeah,
part of it. Yeah,
yeah.
some people might just think, why can't I just do a normal breakout, right?
Yeah, and you can,
can.
but you
Yeah.
can, and you should be able to get out of your own zone. But you just made it harder, right? But this is like if we're talking about, like I said, I'm not even being smart here. Like I'm not trying to show everybody how great I'm at a power play, because I'm actually not. I just play hockey, or I teach hockey. But in a situation like that, you're just taking advantage of their disadvantage. That's what it is. So if you can uh, expose a little bit of ice and give yourself more options, then that's what the goal is. And there's no perfect way to do it.
Yep. Okay, so let's go into an end zone. So we'll start with your overload that you were talking about that you did with your guys.
Okay.
So you can just do like a basic overload setup. First of all, overload. Is an overload your preference of power play, or does it depend? You don't care.
It is in youth hockey.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
How come?
100%. I just find this, if you do like a 1-3-1 like they do in the NHL and stuff, like I don't think people understand the bumper guy enough, and you need someone that can really make plays. And I think at the youth level, it's like it almost can become too much thinking. You know what I mean? So I like the simplicity of overloading, which overloading just simply means that you're going to have a D, some sort of net front side guy, uh, down low, and half wall. So what you're just simply doing is um, getting the puck, walking the puck a little bit so that you're gaining the middle of the ice. And then when you get to the middle of the ice, so let me go back again. So how do we get this set up? Well, if you either set it up through like a clean entry and get down there, and maybe it's whatever, he curls here and we kind of get a net front guy and it kind of sets up on its own, or it might be a dump in where we work it out down here and then we come out with the puck and we set it up high, and then we kind of get in our positions, or however happens, you're going to get it to the point where you're in that overload situation. So you got a guy down low, we got a guy half wall, we got a D, and we got a D, and we got a net front, right? So these guys are loose puck guys, whatever. So what we're trying to do is when we get that puck, we're trying to get it here to get it up. And the purpose, and where do we want to get the puck? It's you just go back to offensive zone. Anything in the offensive zone is you want to get all your shots from outside the dots or inside the dots. That's the goal, is to get the puck inside the dots. So that's why I said you want to get the puck to the middle. And what are the penalty killers trying to do? They're trying to keep it to the outside. But you have the advantage, so that's that. Now, one of the things I would say is, how do you get it to the outside? Like when I watch some of the youth hockey, let's say even if there's the guy on the half wall here has the puck, but he's getting a little bit of pressure. So a lot of times you'll see the D's like this. It's like anytime you see a little bit of pressure, like even if maybe there's some work down here that was happening, this D just has to get to the wall so it's an easy out. Not here, because like it's
More dangerous pass.
a little bit more
tougher
dangerous.
pass,
But once
yeah.
he gets this puck, once this D gets a puck all over it, as soon as that puck's on a stick, it has to have movement to the middle. So because what that does is it has to bring a guy over a little bit. So this frees up this guy. So talking about your movement, sorry, buddy.
No, this is perfect. This, you're
Okay,
doing
but
great. You're
talking
doing great.
about your movement, that's a half wall guy and down low. If you just make this play and he walks and you just stay there, that might not be appropriate because this guy's moving, right? So movement might mean you might have to come up high, right? the movement might be in and out here. This guy might move up, might be a pass option, whatever. But you're looking at supporting the puck like we always do. So the movement goes up the wall. He starts walking the puck. This D is going to walk over to, make more room. And this forward may not move, but probably has to support a little bit to go down here.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. So just draw those guys in their spots again.
So are we
Just
setting up, or are we
Yeah,
ready
already
to shoot?
set up. Just standard overload. Like draw it however you want to draw it. Okay. So let's say in talking about movement, where if you just had to draw kind of lines of where guys in each spot are gonna kind of go, assuming they're staying in their spot. Now everything can change; they can go anywhere depending on what's going on. But if the half wall guy is the half wall guy, where is his kind of lane of movement if he's going to move? And then you do that for like each of our guys on the ice here.
Just basically here, right?
Yeah,
And then
up and down the flank there.
Yeah, or now we're always trying to create 2-on-1. So that's his movement, with the exception of he might be making a pass to go to
And
move
that's where
for
like a
two
switch would be coming in, right?
or a 2-on-1.
Yeah.
We're creating 2-on-1s, or it could be 2-on-1, right? So that will depend. This guy, like presuming it's on this side, he's doing this. So this is net front, maybe popping out a bit for, like, if the puck comes down low, popping out for a pass. So there's movement there. And then, of course, loose pucks. This guy here is like basically moving kind of here. If that's an out, moving up sometimes if there's shots, right? All over again.
No, that's
Is
fine.
it okay?
No, you're doing good.
So you're just looking at, you're reading plays is what you're doing, right? This D is basically doing this, right? Walking to the middle, and this guy's doing this. And maybe if this guy walks to the middle, he comes down a little bit more, acting like a half wall guy there.
Yeah. No, dude, like I'm telling you, this, like even just watching it, obviously it seems like, yeah, this is obviously what they're supposed to do, but I cannot tell you, even the older guys that I have, how much like they don't know where they can go. So it's that goes back to that conversation I was having before about being patient versus moving. Like they're like, okay, do I go? Do I stay? Am I supposed to be here because I'm the half wall guy? Do I have to stay here? How far in can I go? Like they don't know the answers to these questions. So just by simply doing that, what you just did is showing that path, even though it's a vague path. It's not like you can only do this.
Yeah.
But
well, then there's principles.
Exactly.
Right? So when the puck goes down, we're like, so that means like maybe scrambles or it's in the corner here. Well, then there's no, then there has to be some kind of movement, right? So the half wall guy, if the puck's down and there's scrambles, and then he has to go down, and this guy, you're getting back to your positions. This guy is not going to stay at the net front. If the puck is down low, he's going to probably have to help out. Or if we have possession doing that, he's going net front to maybe a pop out pass, right? So it's just, that's a little bit of movement, but it is movement, right? And I mean, like, there's all kinds of details of what do you get in front of a guy, you get under a stick and over a stick, whatever. This might even be a pop out here for an option here. When the puck goes up, so this guy's down here, let's say he popped out. So when I say when the puck comes up, now we go kind of net. Now we're thinking we want more traffic at the net, and so that if there are shots from anywhere, we have people here. So it could be, the guy that was a net front might pop out for a high tip, and this guy goes for a low tip. Maybe you got 2 low tips, like whatever. Like you choose what you want to do and see what works, right? But like, so that's the principle that I have in the offensive zone. The puck comes up, we got to get guys to the net or options on the side of the net. So because if the puck comes up, I mean, I think this is very obvious. But if the puck comes up and we stay here, then we're not really outmanning anyone. They actually have more people in the middle of the ice to take it away. So the idea is to get these guys moving too, right? So when the puck comes up, we get net front presence or a pop out here or whatever, and this guy walks and this guy walks to get these guys all moving a little bit.
Yeah, that's perfect, man.
Is that okay?
No, that's perfect.
Okay.
So
like that's like as vague as I think I can be.
But it's vague, but it's not, because it's like you said, principle stuff. Where movement, what are we thinking? What's the mindset? And then go play. And it goes back to what you said last episode. We were talking about offensive zone. It's like there's not a lot of coaching necessarily that has to happen in the offensive zone outside of some basic structure, which is what we just did. It's like, here's some basic structure, but you have to go make plays. If the play for the net front guys to go far side post low for a release, you have to be able to do that. So that's good.
And then okay, go ahead. Did
I was
you have
gonna
something?
go to umbrella. So
Okay, so I was just the only thing I was going to say about this too is like when we're shooting on power plays, yes, it's good to be like if you can get a nice um, like a 1T from here or 1T one time from across, or even if you're down low, if you can get a one time and hammer it home, that's all good. But it is all good. But like if we're getting shots, no matter where they come from, pop outs, whatever they come from. But let's say these shots here, it's not critical that you're trying to pick the Pringles can in the corner of the net. It's not critical. What is actually more important is that, especially if you have traffic, is that you get decent velocity shots on net, not on the ice, but off the ice that are tippable to bounce in. And you'd be amazed how many of those shots go in. So, you see a lot of times D try to, or see people that wind up and try to hit that little spot there, or maybe they're trying, or maybe it's lucky, whatever. But what happens is you got that back check again. Like you want to keep possession, I guess. So if you have some traffic in front of the net, just getting like, instead of shooting like at 100%, maybe it's coming in at 85, but they're tippable shots like 12 inches off the ice, even higher, where a stick comes on it and changes the trajectory of the puck.
Yeah. I don't know if he still is because I haven't watched him in a bit, but Eki used to be really good at that, just like sifters from the blue line and just getting them through.
Yeah, he was great at it. He had a release that like they saw some of them were knuckleballs, but they're hard, but they weren't hard.
Yeah,
yeah, they were like you could see them, but they were
it was that that really he get that deep bend on
yeah.
the stick where it like
it would just come
a
off,
little bit
and it
slingshot.
Would be like, you could see it coming,
right?
And
but you could see it.
Yeah.
So it would come in, and he was really good at just finding a lane to get the puck through, and it wasn't a bomb, but it would just be off the ice, and it would be on the net, and then whether it went in from him or it creates some traffic chaos, whatever, that's what that play is for. But that's a huge skill as a defenseman, is getting your shots through, getting them on the net and not have to do the big back scratcher Ovechkin shot every time. Okay, so let's do same kind of thing just for basic umbrella setup now, because these are kind of like
basically the 1-3-1.
Yeah, 1-3-1.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
So these are this is like the two main setups that you'll see on power plays, is the overload and the umbrella. So I kind of want to do the same thing. Start with the setup, and then we can just talk about the same idea of like what is the movement paths of each player in the setup kind of thing.
Yeah, like it's really, I mean, this is kind of your shooter quarterback guy. So if he has the puck, like he's creating options, like those are your options or shots. This guy's looking at tips, or if it comes down here, he just pops out and this guy will come down low, or it's a pass option here, right? You have, depending on your puck movement, it could be across ice, but the bottom line is you're just using this guy a little bit more as a decoy or as a pass option or a high tip. And I mean, I don't really know what else to say. You're popping out for pass options, or you're getting like this guy's popping out for pass options, or he's popping out like if there's work down low, one of these guys are going to pop out for pass options, or you're looking for tips from the side of the net. That's basically that.
So okay, go back to clean setup. I want to do the same thing that you did with the overload setup though. So if I'm the D and we're talking about we need guys to move, if I'm the D at the top, and then for each of the other guys, what is their range of where they're covering? Like what range of ice are they covering, right?
Hound dog. That means, what I mean by that is you're hounding pucks, and anybody can be hounding the pucks. Like any of these three guys can go be hounding pucks. But like if something comes up in this area, you've got your D doing the same thing. So you're just forechecking, like whoever's first and second on the puck, you're working it. That's,
so he's covering like
just the bottom
corner
line.
To corner.
Yeah,
is that guy.
Yeah,
kind of.
Yeah. So and like I mean, if you carry the puck this way, there's just not really a lot of switches. This guy would just pop out and be an option or whatever. The D would be taking anything in this area, right? Anything. This guy's forechecking if he has to, loose pucks here, like just whatever makes sense. I don't know if that's an answer.
Well, no, not really. So
okay, tell me what you're thinking
again.
Because
do it again. So just go clean setup again.
Yeah.
So my question is more like, because like I said, guys don't know where to move. So this was one thing. I'll draw it on this one. This
Yeah,
was
you do
one
it. You
thing
go.
that. This was one thing that
Can you see?
I'll put it back when I'm done
Okay.
because I'll leave it on my face right now. So this is one thing that I had issues with my guys is that they didn't know where they were allowed to go on the
Okay.
ice. So when I finish drawing these arrows, it'll make more sense.
Yeah.
And again, this is not
Nice drawing you got there, brother.
right.
Yeah.
Look
My
at
mind
these
wasn't working that way
multi
today.
arrows. So if I put this back now, so this is something that our guys were struggling with because they didn't know what the limits were, and these lines that I've drawn are not like you don't have to be glued to these lines, but just as a base to start with. So I have the defenseman here; he can go like you said, wall to wall to start, right? This guy on the flank and same on the other flank, they can go all the way down and all the way up to the blue line freely. There's no limit on where they can go, which is what you said, just without drawing the arrows.
Yeah, without making it chicken scratch.
Yeah. Net front guy, corner to corner, just like you said. And then this bumper guy can go anywhere he wants, kind of in this area. If there's a switch, there's a switch. If you have to go hound pucks, you have to go hound pucks. If we need 3 or 4 guys in the corner to go get it, then you have to do that. But in general, this is the freedom that you have depending on where your position is on the power play. You can cover all of this ice. And the reason that this is important is because, again, you don't just have to stand there. And that's the biggest problem that I see is like, for example, when you were talking about the overload, if this guy passes up to the defenseman goes to take a shot, this guy won't come down. He'll like stay there because he thinks I need to stay here, you know? And it's like, no, you can move. You can come into the net now. And so it's important that guys know that you don't have to stay glued to your spot just because it's a power play, you know? So that's why I wanted to just outline that movement, same as we did, as you did with the overload situation from the umbrella. So the only other thing I want to talk about with the power play is maybe this is board, maybe it's not, but the idea of like finding good passing lanes and figuring out how to take or when to take shots versus not. So I don't know if that. Do you want the board for that, or do you want to just talk?
Probably just talk.
Okay, one sec.
How to find good passing lanes? Like I'm not sure how to answer
not
that.
not how, but finding good passing lanes versus. Okay, let's do it this way. Something you'll hear coaches say a lot is don't force plays, right? Stop forcing plays. And the reason I want to ask this question is because a kid asked me this question 2 weeks ago. He was like, "Okay, you keep saying don't force plays. Like, what do you mean don't force it?" Right? What do you mean don't force the play? So what would your answer for that question
So
be?
the answer is like if you're on the half wall, for example, and the typical movement would be to come to your D, move it to the D. If someone's standing there, don't force that play. It's not there. So you're looking for another option. Or if you go to make a play and someone's maybe uh, you don't have enough space and maybe instead of making a play, maybe just take it back 5 feet so that maybe it creates a pass option. Like, so the point of that is like, don't make a pass just because that's supposed to be the next play. Like that's where you want to be able to think and like, I mean, it seems like it makes sense, but if someone happens to be covering your point and you have a straight lane to skate to the net, like use that. Like go ahead and use that. Like so the principle I would say is like there's a setup and there's a principle of what we would like to do, but if something's not there and you see something else, it's okay to think and use that.
That was the exact
Okay.
issue that I was having. So the only other thing I'll add to that is guys feeling it necessary to make fancy passes. So on the one is like don't make plays that aren't there, and the second is don't feel like you have to do the fancy thing. So I'm gonna just put the board back. So the only other thing was guys feeling like they have to go through the middle. So I think part of it is because if you can make the pass through the seam, it looks cool and it feels cool. But a lot of times it's not just, if there's a guy right here, don't pass it. It's like, obviously don't do that, but trying to find like this guy back door when he's not there.
One time.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Ovechkin.
Exactly. And making the crazy, cross seam through 3 guys play like the high risk pass. So that's the other part of the forcing thing is like, if you're constantly looking for that, which I find a lot, guys trying to make it go through the middle of the box or the diamond or whatever when it doesn't have to, then that's another part of the forcing thing on the power play. And then the only other thing about I want to talk maybe in the context of face-offs or even just loose pucks is you have to get on the puck, man. you have to get on the puck. So just because you're on the power play in this setup here that we have on the board, or the overload, whatever, you can't just chill when the puck goes to the corner. It's like everybody needs to go to help. So normally, if it's like the outnumber rule, if they have 2, we have 3. If they have 3, we have 4. If they have 4, we have 5, because we have the extra person. So that's the only other thing about power play stuff. Is there anything else you want to touch on power play wise before we go?
No, don't be afraid to shoot the puck. Don't be afraid to think a little bit. Like, look at your structure if you have any. And I would say this to the coaches too: is like, don't overcomplicate it, because you can see, like, just us going over one power play. Like, explaining it is there's a lot of different things that can go wrong or right, and it's really just, you're just playing hockey. You got an extra guy, and don't overthink it. Don't be afraid to get shots on net. I think one of the things that happens on a lot of power plays is people overthinking, and they're looking at making the perfect play, especially the higher up you get. And sometimes the simplicity of just getting bodies in front of the net and getting shots and rebounds is good. And the last thing is, like, as you said, with the face-offs or loose pucks, there's a time on the power play where you don't skate a whole lot necessarily, but there's times where you have to be the hardest working guy, because everything that's kind of done well in hockey, there's a work element to it, and getting on the loose pucks is you got to work hard to get those, because you want to keep the possession. Because now, like, if they get possession now, it's just a matter of sending it down the ice. Right, so that's the luxury a penalty killer has.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah.
So if we go to PK now, obviously we just talked about what we were trying to do on the power play. The penalty kill is going to be the opposite of the power play. But what's your thoughts? Kind of any general thoughts, other than obviously it's going to be more vague still, on executing or as a player, or teaching penalty kill as a coach?
Start from defending at the other end. So let's say we face off, and the first thing is we get it down the ice and they're going to set up. Now, how we attack that is dependent on what percentage we have to get the puck. So, or the players, or some coaches want pressure all the time. Like, it depends on what you want. But I would say that if you ice the puck and there's a good gap here and there's no chance of catching them, like, I wouldn't rush to that. I would be more passive. But if you feel like you can put real pressure, or you think this is a weak guy or whatever, if you think you could really, the pressure is going to have him cough up the puck, or you can steal that puck, then by all means have pressure, right? So that would be one. But other than that, I would set up. I would set up like in a more of a passive one, like wait for them to break out and start taking angles. Okay, so for some penalty kills, it's just better to go backwards. It's better to take angles and just have guys, coming back with speed and stuff like that. I'll show you one that I did. And I did this with my team, and like, people were like, "What are you doing?" But we never got scored on. Partially because we were good, but because we made decisions for them. So I think the deeper that you are, that one pass can beat you. Okay, so I this is what I did with my Bell Tire team: is I had the first guy on the left side, no matter what, standing there, and I had the second. You're gonna laugh at this. Our second guy was above him at the red line. So they were coming out here, so they would get the puck. Then we had our D and our D. And you might look at that and go, well, "What are you doing?" Well, what would you do if you were the power play guy? Where would you go?
Over there.
100% you're going over there.
For sure, man.
So
Double
we just
flush.
made it. So if they even decided to come out this way, this guy would just come here. And then we just did like a neutral zone trap, and this guy would be here. And it was like, it worked every time. Like, I'm not talking once in a while, every time. And then if they decided to go back, and I know there's going to be people say, yeah, but I would, yeah. No one did it against us, so you couldn't. Like, you could argue this all day, but no one beat us on it. Right. And then we were good enough to get back, and this guy would, whatever, we had all that stuff. But that's what we did. We forced them that way.
So, okay. So let's take your forecheck here as an example. Because again, there's a million different forechecks.
Like, you look at that, that's stupid.
It's not. I've seen that type of forecheck before. We've actually done it where we have the two guys line up standing next to each other. Here. So first guy goes. Then if he gets beat back for some reason, you have that second guy same as you. So it's just a different stack, but it's like that double push, right? So we do.
So sorry. Now, our guys are smart enough, but we told them also, if they did come out this way, we didn't go in a straight line. We kind of just took them on that angle. Now they just made their life even more miserable because we had
they're going into traffic.
you're going into traffic. Yeah.
So let's use this example now. Talk about mindset here. So let's whatever power play breakout they're doing. Let's say they're doing the same kind of thing we just talked about, where we got 3 guys coming out. So if you're this first guy, let's talk about a little bit about this philosophy. So what are we trying to do if you're this first person, guy's carrying the puck up? What's the point of this guy being here? What's he trying to do? And then the second guy, same thing. And then we'll go to the defenseman after that. So just talk a little bit about the actual positioning on this forecheck.
So I'm going to be clear. Like, you're not going to see this probably hardly ever anymore, right? Mostly it's either coming backwards in a box or a 1-2-2 or 1-1-2 or whatever 1-3. But this is just the philosophy, right? It doesn't matter what what the stack is. What matters is what you're trying to do.
So sorry to cut you off too. Just to reiterate that point, because we don't do this penalty kill. We do a different penalty kill, but it's like the same. We say the same thing that you're about to say. Yeah. So go ahead.
So what F1's job is to do is read where the puck is going. Okay, so if this guy carries it out, it doesn't matter where. Let's say he comes out. This is a really smart guy. He knows that if I skate here, I'm going into traffic. So he comes out here with these 2 guys. Fine. That's exactly what I wanted. So now I'm not going in a straight line at him, because straight lines, it's easy to be caught with a pass. What I'm trying to do is create an angle, right, to push this guy out so I can push this guy out. That's the bottom line. This guy has got a little bit of patience, but he's seeing that, and he starts to come over as well. And he's reading if he's running out of real estate or not. And if he's running out of real estate, he's there to pounce. And if they send it back or anything, he's able to swing the other way. So basically, the philosophy is we're just trying to force them, eliminate room coming down the ice. That's just the bottom line. Like everybody else that penalty kills.
Yeah. So if you guys remember back to our forechecking we talked about in the offensive zone and the forecheck we talked about when we did the neutral zone episode, it's literally the same thing. It's that angle that you're taking, trying to eliminate the pass back behind you or the pass underneath you to go out the other side. That's the F1 roll. That's the guy flushing across. In this case, the way you did this penalty kill forecheck, you have 2 guys doing the same thing, where 2 guys are both trying to flush and make sure they can't come back to the other side, take away their space through the middle of the ice, which is great.
Yeah. But just so I can give someone just maybe another idea, like, because I don't want people to think, okay, I got to try that. Like, you can, but like, it's the same shit, different pile, right? You could do this now, right? And this guy could be waiting for them, and they come out, and what's he doing? He's still doing the same thing. We're still doing the same thing. It's all the same thing. You can do it where, he starts coming out, and you're going at him, and this guy's going to go on another wave, and you're coming back with speed as they're coming up. Or you could go set it up where it's 1-2, and as they come out, you're going backwards. Or you could do it where you're doing it like almost in a box already. Like, there's just a million ways you could do it. And as they move it out, you're going backwards, or you're taking swings, like whatever. It's just the goal of it is to not let them come up the ice easily and to squeeze away their options the best that you can. That's beautiful. That's that.
So if I'm the defenseman now, so if you can do whatever forecheck you want, doesn't matter. Okay. So what are my defensemen thinking? What are they trying to do in terms of the forecheck that you just drew up? So our forwards are flushing. What am I trying to do?
You're trying to hold this blue line as long as you can, right? So as they're flushing, right, you're trying to get it so that they're making plays. They're dumping in, whatever. You're a little bit staggered so that if this guy gets beat on a play, there's back checkers, back pressure, and you're staggered. So this guy's like a last guy back resort. But the bottom line is you're just trying to stuff them out in this area. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah. So force a turn. I think the way that I talk about it is you're trying to force them to turn it over. If the forwards can force before that, great. If they can't, you want to try to get it by the blue line or force them to dump it in where they can't get in clean and just have an easy setup kind of thing, right? So, but then again, on the other side, there's some teams that just let teams come in so they can get into their setup or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's like that's a principle. That's one way to do it, and you could do it other ways. Like I said, I'm going to be very vague about this because I just showed 3-4 different defending the breakout that for some people will work and some people won't. Just getting the principle of what you want, what's the idea of what you want to do against it. So what you don't want to do, well, some guys are really aggressive everywhere. So it's like I can't even say what you don't want to do is be really aggressive. You just want to be smart about it, and that's the whole lesson.
Yeah,
by
for sure.
Dale Hunter.
Yes, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about end zone. So, the two standard end zones that we talk about normally is going to be a
Yeah.
box versus a diamond on the PK.
Yeah.
So, first question is when would you use one versus the other? And then you can talk a little bit about the actual rotation of it or
So
whatever.
you use a box more on an overload, right?
Pourquoi?
Because they're set up. Let's say they're set up like this. The puck is over here, so you've got your PK taking away the middle of the ice like this. This is before they're actually set up. Sorry. Right? So the puck is coming up and down more or less and across, right? So that's that. If we go to the other end and we do a if they're doing like an overload or something like that, umbrella or whatever, then if you're standing like this, you're leaving too many options open in the middle. So what you would change there would be like that diamond formation like this. It's a box just flipped around into a diamond.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So to me, how I explain it, because guys ask me this question too: why are we doing a diamond, not a box, whatever? And to me, it's about just being in lanes, being in the most amount of lanes you can by just standing there. So if you aren't moving, are you covering the most amount of lanes that you can cover, and that kind of dictates the PK. So maybe you can use whichever setup you want, the diamond or the box. I don't want to get into like the push down types because that's very specific. But as a philosophy, talk about you can, and this could just be your philosophy. It doesn't have to be the philosophy, but when to be passive versus aggressive, what moments,
okay,
and stuff like that.
So let's
on
just
the
say we're in a
kill.
box. That's us. We're X. They're O's. Oh, no. I don't even need them. Yeah, I'll do that. They're O. Okay.
Yep.
If this guy has the puck right now, he's outside the dots. I'm not really aggressive. He's got full possession of the puck. He passes it over. He's got full possession of the puck, and there's not a lot of movement. And they're in full possession, and they're outside these dots. Like that's the goal of defending is to keep them outside the dots because if they're scoring from out in these areas, then it's just the goalie's fault. We should expect the goalie to make that save, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so if that puck can move around all day, I don't care. Like who cares? Because they're not going to score and they're not really in shooting lanes either. So it's when they start to move, right? And I'm not saying be aggressive just because, like, let's say it's overloaded here. I'm not saying that just because the puck moves here that we have to be aggressive. If they got possession, it's fine. But if he starts to move, depending on like if he bobbles or something like that, that's when you want to be a little more aggressive. But you want to mirror that and take the lanes, right? So you're moving a little bit. Where you become aggressive is like, let's say he throws this back down and it's a bad pass, and now he's like playing around with the puck, or it's a bad pass that's in no man's land. That's when you want to get aggressive. That's when you want to work your ass off and put pressure on them.
Okay, so might seem like an obvious question. If they have full possession and you have a kid that's over aggressive, like what are the negative consequences of a guy who's too aggressive when they have full possession?
Okay, if this puck goes to him, they got full full possession. If you're like really aggressive on this, and well, basically you're coming here real hard. If this guy has any brains at all, you've opened up this area of the ice. So now it doesn't even have to be a really great pass. He puts it in there. And now what that does is gets this guy possibly out of position, this guy out of position, like you create chaos, or you just leave that free lane to get a shot or create different 2-on-1. So what you've done is you've created a 2-on-1 without the other team trying. You know what I mean? So you don't want to do that. You don't want to create a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-1 because you just got horny to get a puck for no reason.
Right. So my thing that I said to your next point about when to go, if it's a bad pass. So these are my three things that I say.
No,
this
you're
more.
Right.
This would be more for older kids because sometimes younger kids can't identify the three things that I'm saying. So the first thing is if there's like a bobbled puck, bad pass, like that situation. So I'll normally just use the word if they bobble the puck. If you see they're having a hard time handling it, go. That's one. If they have their back to you, that would be another time to press them because they're not seeing the whole ice, so their options will be limited. Or if they're on their backhand, because not many players can make really good plays on their backhand. If you're playing Leon Draisaitl, then watch out because he's really good on his backhand. Yeah, right. But if you're in most youth levels, even up into junior, not a lot of guys are really really good on their backhand. So those are my three things that I say. Now, if you need to dumb it down for younger groups, it could just be if you see the puck on the wall, you go, and that's their only thing, and it's just to keep them from getting confused or running around. But it's good to have some cues of when they should be passive versus aggressive on the penalty kill, even at the older ages. Like that's like I said, with you have a U18 team right now, and we're doing a more complex version of a penalty kill that also requires a good amount of teaching because it's easy to get confused. But those are my cues, my three cues for them. It's like the 3B thing. People like using stuff like that as cues, and they're starting to figure out how to identify that on the ice and see it in real time when the game is moving and things are fast. So I think that's an important conversation to have about penalty kill is like the patience versus aggressive, when to do which. Otherwise, you get guys that just run around everywhere, and that's where a lot of seams open up because you are down a guy, right? I think that's kind of all I have.
What I would say though, in addition to this, is in the penalty kill, and I would say this in your D zone as well, is that a lot of the times you'll see
Sorry, board or no board?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
it doesn't matter.
Whatever.
We'll leave it like this. Just
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah.
So let's just say you do get possession as a penalty killer. You get the possession and you're on your backhand. Let's say, like I'm a lefty here and I'm skating it out. And I'm on my backhand and I want to get it out. Yeah, I would be on my backhand there. Like try your best to not backhand the puck out because you never know what type of velocity, if you're going to get wood on it or not. So if you can, like, get that to your forehand and hammer it out. And then the next phase would be when you do go to ice the puck, or especially if you're throwing it off the walls, is get some air under the puck. So, because the worst thing, like the thing that sucks is you see someone get possession, like a penalty kill possession, and you go to, or D zone, right? And you go to get the puck out and you do a really hard rim, let's say, but it's on the ice. And now it's on the ice, and this kid it just has to put a stick there. It doesn't take much to keep it out of the in the zone, or a skate or anything, right? So if at least if you get a couple inches on it or more is preferable. Now, like you might not get it out, which you should, but at least this isn't as easy, right? He might have to put a hand down and then bobble that or whatever. So like you've made just a little thing like that is try to get it off the glass even or whatever, so that if it doesn't have the velocity, that this guy has to work to keep it in instead of just making it like a hard pass to him to make his life easy.
Yeah.
Right. So that's just the last thing I would add to that.
So then my last thing, just from like a mindset standpoint, is you are down a person, so everything should be that much harder. Like this common coaching shit all the time is just like make sure you bear down on the puck, make sure you're keeping your feet moving when you're supposed to, stops and starts, not doing the circles. Everything's got to be a little bit tighter, a little bit more urgent. You have to be a little bit harder because you have to make up for the fact that you're down a guy, and that's an important thing that kids need to understand when they're down is plays like that where you have an opportunity to get it out. Like get it out, man. You need to get it out. One, just because it's good we're on the penalty kill, but two, guys might be tired. Guys might need a change. We've been stopping and starting and doing our penalty kill the right way. All those things. You have an opportunity to get it out. Nothing deflates the balloon more than a guy that throws a muffin to the blue line and it hits the guy and they keep it in, and now we're stuck for another 30 seconds or whatever, right? So that's it. Anything else you want to say from a special teams perspective? We could talk for another 3 hours about face-offs and different situations, but just as a general outline.
No, real vague. Like it's vague right now, and it's vague for a reason because like you can. I mean, there's power play meetings with high-end teams, and they go through the minor detail or the major details, minor details, left-hand shot, right-hand shot, an inch this way, like all that stuff. I think the principle of it is just like in the offensive zone on the power plays, you're trying to have a little bit of movement, get the pucks to the net, and create 2-on-1s if you can. And when you're defending on a PK, is have patience when you have to. Try to get guys to the outside, and like you said, defend really hard when you can, like when it's appropriate. And those are just the principles, and you can add all kinds of things and take things away as much as you want.
Beautiful. Okay, that's all for this. That's all for the basic series. I think we did everything. O-zone, D-zone,
We've done some
neutral
things.
zone, special teams. So I think that should be a good like foundation for
Sure.
positioning stuff. So hopefully that's somewhat helpful. So we'll be on to something new and fresh next week.
Cool. Maybe
As
more
they say.
something more philosophical.
Philosophical.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm going to talk next week about we were talking about earlier about a little bit of the time spent delusion.
Yeah, that's a cool topic.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting.
I think we'll do that.
Okay, beautiful.
Along those lines.
See you next week, humans.